So we're in it, my friend.
We're in it. We're here.
Yeah, let me do a little introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. It's your friendly neighborhood Paul here with another episode of the Real Estate Playbook. You might be saying to yourself, Paul, I can see you in much more high definition today.
Oh, boy.
Well, that's because we are, I guess you could say this is on loan from my friend and Allison's brother, actually, Bobby Bresciani. He's our director of HR. He's letting us use his DSLR today to see how we like it. So shout out to Bobby one time, and hopefully I look okay. So,
Oh, boy. This is going to show all of our blemishes. So, if you're watching us, maybe you want to shut this off and just listen.
yeah, there's an audio version and the links below. So if we're highly offensive to you, I would recommend clicking on that. So anyway, my guest, as I said, shares the last name Bresciani. Someone I've known for about 2 years now. Her name is Allison Bresciani. How are you, Allison?
That's me. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for asking.
All right.
Allison, I appreciate you making the time today. You're like one of the few 54 Realty like OGs that I think I haven't had on here yet, aside from maybe Alina. I got my eye on you, Alina. So I do appreciate it. Like I said, I've known you for like 2 years now. That's how long I've been here. I'm wondering, for the people out there who don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Who is Allison Bresciani? How'd you start real estate?
Okay. So I lived in Massachusetts until 2012 and had a lot of strange incidences happening all at once in my life.
As they
And
tend to happen.
they certainly do. And my family, my mother and my sister in particular, decided that they were moving to Florida. And something just happened to your camera.
Strange things are happening, people. Bing! Hey, everyone, we're back. So we had a little malfunction there. Sometimes when you try new things, it doesn't go according to plan. But we're back on Old Faithful here. So, back to it, I guess. My guest here was telling me a little bit about how...
I was talking about my days in good old Massachusetts. So, 2012, some stuff changed. My mom and my sister were moving here. I had recently been sort of skipped over for a promotion that I had been promised, and had some personal life major changes going on. So when it came down to it, my mom and my sister were like, we're going to Florida. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll go too. Bob already lived here. He had lived here for some years. So we had come down here pretty frequently for vacations and things. So we just moved to Tampa in 2012. And at the time, when I was in Massachusetts, I was working in communications and fundraising for a nonprofit public charter school. And that was my career path. I had gone to school for organizational communications. And so when I got here, I started applying for jobs sort of in the same field, and I couldn't find anything. So I thought, well, while I'm looking for a job, I will also get my real estate license. So that's what I did. And when I first started, I basically went and got my license. You can cut that part out. I went and got my license, and I started with Keller Williams in New Tampa because I lived over there at the time. I was working by myself. I was an independent agent. I didn't know anybody. I was new to the area. Basically knew my immediate family, and that was that. Knew the guy at the gas station. That was pretty much it. So I joined Keller Williams. I was like, what the heck am I doing? Realized that in this industry, to start in a new place with not knowing anybody and not even really knowing how to get home from the gas station, that was kind of hard.
Yeah.
So doing that on my own for a while, met some great people that I still work with now. And joined a team with another agent out there. We were together. We were like a 2-person team for a minute, and then that didn't really work out. So I was meeting with Laura M. at the time. She worked for Keller Williams, and I met with her regularly to talk about marketing myself. She was helping me figure out my marketing. I was blogging at the time. I was doing all kinds of stuff. And I was like, I want to be like Team 54. Their stuff is amazing. How do I get to that level? And Laura was helping me. We met all, like, I think every other week we were meeting. And she would give me a new task to work on so that I could be like Team 54. And eventually she's like, hey, you know what? Joe and Rose are they're looking to expand and they're looking for a buyer's agent. Would you be interested? And I was like, yeah, right. They're not going to want me. Their stuff is amazing.
Lo and behold.
And so I met with Joe. He gave me the old Joe closing routine. That guy can close anybody in 5 minutes.
Truly.
And he's like, so what do you think? You want to join? And I was like, let me meet your wife. So then I went out to lunch with Rose, and I was like, okay, I'm in.
Sold.
Done.
Yeah.
Yep. And I've been with them ever since. That was 2014, despite what our anniversary date is on the calendar.
This is true.
They made that up.
Yeah. What is it on the calendar? Do you know?
It's Valentine's Day. It's not even the right year.
Oh, that's romantic, don't you think?
Yeah, Rose picked it. That's how much she loves me.
That's cute. That's like when you adopt an animal and you just make up a birthday for the animal.
Mm-hmm.
So you hadn't met them at KW. You kind of just
no. Well, actually, we
them.
did. We had a run-in. It was a new construction class, and I was in this class. Rose had just come over because they were at Prue Trop, which is now Berkshire Hathaway.
Okay.
They were at Prue Trop when it was Prue Trop, right up the street. And they had come over when we were at our old office above the Central Bank on Bruce B. Downs. And there was a meeting of some kind. And they were talking about new construction. I had never done new construction. And I was asking questions and they were answering them. And Rose wasn't leading this meeting. She had really just joined. And afterwards, she's like, hey, she came up to me. She's like, let me tell you something. New construction is going to be one of the easiest deals you ever do. Don't be afraid of it. Like, she just brought it to the table. She was straight up with me.
Yeah.
She was pretty much like, don't listen to anything anybody says. Listen to me. And I was like, okay. And then so we had a brief conversation, and that was that. We went our separate ways. So I hadn't really had much interaction with them. At the time, Keller Williams is in a very small office. So not a lot of people actually worked from the office.
Okay.
Everyone really was remote. So no, I didn't really have much interaction with them until it was about a year or so later when I was desperately looking for direction and they were looking for a buyer's agent. Someone brought us together, and the rest is history.
That it is. 8 years later, here we are.
Right.
Depending on who you ask and what calendar you check, you know what
Exactly.
I mean?
Exactly.
So I've heard stories about like the old days, Allison, the early days. I know you were up there with them. Chris was there. I think Amy was, right? Alina, like we said. Different times, but...
Yeah. So it started, it was me, then it was Sonia. Then it was... Oh, this is tough. And if I get it wrong, someone's going to be mad. I think it was Chris and James right around the same time. And then Brenda. Then after that, I kind of lose a little bit.
Yeah.
Alina and Richard came around the same time. I think Amy and Deb came a little bit after that. So yeah, I mean, it was smaller, clearly,
sure. Yeah.
right? We were a closer group. We hung out a lot,
Right.
Even outside of work. We spent a lot of time together. And it was great. It was like a little family. We were really, really close. We talked to each other all the time. If we had questions, we called each other. We were all sort of in it together. We also were crazy workaholics.
Oh, that I've heard, yeah.
Yeah. So there was no like, I feel like going to the beach. Like, we were grinding. We were always working, doing everything we could to be successful, going to every class, going to every training, just working together. We used to do power hours. They were mandatory. We had coaching. Joe and Rose were gracious and generous enough to include us in their team coaching through Tom Ferry. And we had to be on these coaching calls. We had to do role playing with other agents and other agents we didn't know. Other agents from other teams across the country, random people were assigned to us. We had accountability partners. We had unbelievable amounts of data that we had to input into spreadsheets every week. If we didn't, we got in trouble. Like the level of participation and how much we were accountable for was much more than it is now for our agents.
Yeah.
With all the different systems and things that we have in place. So it was a lot of work. Not that real estate isn't hard work no matter what, but it was a lot of back end work that we, had to do and had to be involved in, and things that we had to show up for, so to speak.
For sure. Yeah, so a lot has changed over time. I mean, I've heard stories about the power hours specifically. Like, there's a lot of cold calling and things like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Or warm calling, because realistically, I mean, we were calling leads, similar to what the APs do now with the pond. We were calling leads. So they may be old leads, but they were, at some point, they were, they came in from somewhere.
That's true.
But yeah, we had to be on the phones. We had to be calling out. Rose would walk around and she'd be like, "Why aren't you on the phone? Why don't I hear anybody?" And we'd get in trouble if we weren't, and it sounds like a drag. And
right.
I don't want it to sound like that. At the time, it felt like a drag. But when you look back at it now, you're like, damn, it brought me out of my shell. It grew me into the agent that I became, because I had to learn how to talk to people. It didn't matter. It was something you had to do. You had no choice. So I had to learn how to talk to people, not to be afraid to get people on the phone, and things of that nature. So it changed who we were. And I think you still see that in that group of agents. There's a level of not only confidence, but just that ability to pick up the phone and talk to anybody, anytime about real estate, because we learned when we were terrified that we had to do that to be successful.
And I see dedication in you guys too, in all of you. Just, I don't know Sonia super well or Brenda, but the rest of you guys I know pretty well. I wanted to ask, like, in the early days, did it ever feel like you were working towards something greater? Because when I hear these stories and I look back, I'm like, oh, maybe they didn't realize it at the time, but all of their concentrated or concerted efforts kind of led to essentially where we are today. I mean, without the OG group, it never kind of would have spiraled into what it is today. And obviously Rose and Joe were part of that as well. But did it feel like that at the time at all?
It's funny. For me, it was always about Rose and Joe. So you have two dynamic and vastly different personalities that together, and I used to really say this all the time, I felt like together they could do anything. The different skill sets and talents that they brought to the table, working in conjunction with each other, I mean, they could have, and they did. I mean, they did do something beautiful together. But really, I mean, they could do anything they wanted with the two sets of skill sets that they bring to the table. And I truly believe that you can see that when they're working together in concert. You can see that this is a dynamic duo, truly.
Yeah.
With a vision that nobody really has. They're super forward thinking, always a step ahead of the curve. In this market, in this industry, you have to shift and pivot, and they're really good at that.
I agree.
So it was a no-brainer. I think at the time, like I told you when I was talking to Laura at Keller Williams, and I was like, I want my stuff to look like theirs. Mm-hmm. Their stuff was amazing. So nobody else in our market had the websites, the blogs, the community information, all of their marketing pieces that they were doing. Their marketing was outstanding.
Right.
And nobody had that. And I look at what we have now and I'm like, oh my God, what we had then was like nothing.
Yeah.
But at the time it was everything. And I think, somebody who admires that, from the big picture perspective, I could tell they had something that nobody else had. So in that regard, yeah, the possibilities are limitless. I don't think anybody ever sat us down and, told us, hey, eventually this is going to be a brokerage and we're going to expand into 3 million different counties and have 8 million offices and 20,000 people working for us and everything that we've come to today. I don't know that any of us really thought that, but sure, the possibilities were endless because we were part of a team that was doing something different even then.
Absolutely.
So groundbreaking stuff, really.
Truly. I mean, even in my 2 short years, if you can call it that, I've seen things change a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
when I first started, we just had the Land O'Lakes office, and we've moved now and obviously expanded. We have all the different locations, and obviously we had record-breaking year last year and that sort of thing. So it's been cool to see, and I think a lot of it does lend itself to exactly what you're describing, Rose and Joe's mindset and that sort of thing. But then we have all these great people here as well,
We do.
yourself included, which
Thanks.
brings me to my next question. No problem. So a lot has changed for you too. Like we're talking about the brokerage and how things have shifted over the years. But did you correct me if I'm wrong? You said it's been about 10 years being licensed now?
Yeah.
Okay. So over a decade, I mean, a lot can happen, right? I was just talking to Alexis last week, who in 1 year, so much has happened for her, right? So I want to frame this question by asking you a little bit about your new position, which is the Director of Training. Applause, 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 applause. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about kind of how you slid into that role, or how you kind of felt going into it. And then as a second part, maybe how you feel, how important you feel training is for new agents, that sort of thing.
Sure. Moving from being out there in the field. So I feel like this was a huge transition over 10 years. So
Right.
starting, as an independent agent, working with somebody else, all those other things. When I started with Rose and Joe, we were a small team. I was a buyer's agent. We didn't have systems. We didn't have CRMs. We had nothing. Like we're talking about Excel spreadsheets and note paper is how we tracked everything.
Rolodexes.
So, yeah, right. We're going from there to suddenly, not so suddenly, but eventually, they're opening their own brokerage. They're the Zillow broker partner in the greater Tampa Bay area. All this stuff is happening super fast. Suddenly, we're accelerated to a point where, a few of us were approached to become team leaders. And so it was our first kind of step up into a leadership role. You're going to coach agents as they come in. Each of you is going to have a group of those people, newer agents, older agents, doesn't matter. If they have questions, they need help, they're going to come to you. And so that was the next step. And then doing that for a couple of years, I guess now it's been. And then we saw a need for some serious training protocol for new agents, just to get people where they need to be. Because of course, when you get your license, you really don't know anything.
Yeah.
I know that sounds scary. It is scary. They approached me and said, we think this would be a good fit. We think you're a natural candidate for this position. Do you want it? And it took me a minute. It took me like a few weeks, which probably for Joe was like excruciating, because he's like, just tell me today. Just tell me right this second. But I needed a minute. I've been doing this for a long time. And even though I was coaching and training my team of 17 or so agents, I was still out there in the field.
Yeah.
In conjunction with that, opening the property management division here, which is
triple threat.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I'm working 3 jobs. I'm surviving, working 12, 14-hour days. And they're like, hey, how about you want to do this now? And I'm like, I'm not sure.
So the couple weeks were needed.
Yeah,
so to
a
speak,
couple weeks to think about, like, can I go to an office 9 to 5? Is that me?
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't been for 10 years. Can I handle that? What does that look like? Will I actually have my weekends free? Because I still have all this other stuff going on. Or am I still going to be working 7 days a week? All these questions. So anyway, long story short, I said yes, and I jumped right in. I've been here for 3 weeks. It feels like I've been here for like 3 years.
Yeah.
But it's great. It's a different perspective. It's a totally different kind of tired when you get home at night.
Yeah.
It's not quite the same. I'm used to working 12 to 14-hour days. I'm not used to the amount of brain power
Right.
that it takes to do what I'm doing right now for that extended period of time every day.
Yeah.
So that's exhausting, but it's been fun. It's been good. I think we're heading in the right direction. I love the collaborative effort. I love being able to walk out into the hallway here and right on the whiteboard.
Just happening a couple
I
hours
just
ago.
get
Yeah.
such a kick out of that. And pulling people in, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And collaborating across departments is super exciting. So there's a lot of scary parts. Like, what am I doing? I'm an agent and I'm good at it. And it's, scary in one regard. But on the other hand, I think it's fun and exciting and challenging. And I'm happy to be here.
Does it help to think like what you might have wanted when you were a new agent kind of?
100%.
Yeah.
So when I first started, as I mentioned, I was at Keller Williams, New Tampa. I went through their Ignite program, which is the binder is like that big.
Yikes. No, thank you.
There was a lot of classes on a lot of different things. I am a big reader. I always have been. So I would go to Barnes & Noble and I would just spend hours looking through the books on real estate and buy the ones that I thought I really needed to have. So you'll see like the bookshelf out there with all the real estate books. Those are my books.
Those are yours? Yeah. I was looking at them yesterday.
A large number of them are my books. So I wanted all that information. I didn't know where to go for it. Keller Williams was helpful to a certain extent. I'd go to any classes at my board at the time, and I still am a member of the Greater Tampa Realtors. And I would go there and go to any classes they had there. I'd look online. I'd watch YouTube videos. I'd read books. I'd do everything. I just wanted to know everything.
Right.
That was my personality.
You were a sponge. I
want to know everything before I have to do anything. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't the leader at the time there who told me, I know this is you, Allison. I know you want to know everything, but you can't, and you're never going to. You just need to go out there and do it to really understand it. So, I think about that now, and I'm like, what are the things that I would have wanted to sit through a class about?
Yeah.
What information would I have really appreciated when I didn't know anything after I first got my license? And I ask those questions to some of our agents who have only been licensed for a year or so. What do you guys want to see? Yeah. What do you wish that we had in place a year ago when you joined us that would have helped you then? Because they're fresh. For me, it's been a long time. But for them, they're like, oh, man, yeah, I wish we could have done this or that. And so that's helping to frame the whole curriculum.
Okay, that's awesome. As a follow-up question, because you mentioned the importance of like just going out there and doing it. That's something that I find helps me in whatever it is that I need to learn.
Right.
Do you think that the best approach is like an even mix of taking the classes, watching the videos, reading the books, and getting out there and doing it? Or do you think getting out there and doing it is far more important for the agents to focus on?
I definitely think you have to get out there and do it.
Right.
So we can sit and have theoretical discussions about what it's like out there in the market and how to talk to your clients and all that good stuff, how to write an offer. I could give you a manual on it. Until you actually have to do it, it doesn't all really kind of click into place. Right. So what we're trying to do here is get people get them familiar with our systems, all of our different technologies that we use here, and give them a crash course. And hey, this is what you need to do. This is how you're going to pick up a lead. This is how you're going to talk to them. This is how you're going to schedule a showing. This is how you're going to write an offer. And then say, okay, you're ready to go. But we're going to keep training through this first 90 days while you're out there actually in the field doing what you need to do at the same time, because you need both, really.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of what I was leaning towards. Is I think you do need that healthy mix for sure. Mm-hmm. So we were talking about Joe, and so when I was thinking of questions to ask you today, I thought of something that he kind of goes over in this sales mastery training that he gives, which is the 5 stages of business. I don't know where this comes from, but bear with me as I go through them real quick.
Okay.
So you have dream up, which I'm guessing is, before you actually begin. Start up, which is actually getting started. Ramping up, you're actually probably what we were just talking about in the training and whatnot. Scaling up, you have your business in place. You're becoming successful, developing a sphere, scaling up, etc. And then finally, leadership. I think that applies to you just based on what I've seen and then kind of just talking to you today. Do you think that's an appropriate path for people to aspire to, or agents rather to aspire to?
100%. And I think sometimes you see it naturally happening.
Yeah.
This isn't a career path like you're going to get a promotion to this role and that role. You're not climbing a corporate ladder, so
Yeah.
to speak. But at the same time, you naturally will develop relationships with other agents. You'll become a mentor, if that's where your heart is. And through teaching, you can become a team leader. There are other things going on here, but through teaching, you really do learn your craft even more because you have to spell it out for people who don't
Right.
understand it at all. And that's the case in any field, of course, not just real estate. But I do think that getting to a leadership role changes how you look at things. And it really does hone your skills because you do have to teach it to somebody else. Those opportunities are here, but I also think in even just a more loose sense, not formal, but I see other agents taking those leadership roles naturally with new agents. They'll, form little groups that go out for lunch and chit chat and, have group texts and things of that nature, and they're helping each other.
Yeah.
And the leaders just naturally rise to the top. And it, certainly doesn't go unnoticed.
Yeah. I think Raymond's a good example of that, like on a smaller scale, like you were saying. I'll see him in Slack all the time. Somebody has a question. He's
Yeah.
like, you can go here for this and
Yeah.
that sort of thing. I'm like, it's my boy right there.
Yeah,
You know?
for sure. For sure.
So I totally agree, Allison. And I'm excited to see kind of how that sort of path plays out for some of the newer agents over the next couple of years.
Me too.
We'll see. So back to you,
Back to me, the only topic worth talking about.
Don't forget it. So Allison, what would you say has been your biggest strength over the past 10 years? Like, what do you think has really kept you feet on the ground, head in the right place, and moving forward?
Yeah. I don't know if I am all those things, but if I was, I would say, just that drive and desire to accomplish something, to do better than I did last year.
Right.
To keep going and to work my ass off, quite frankly. I'm not afraid of hard work. I can't, and this is bad. This is real bad. This is not a positive thing, but I can't tell you the last time I went on vacation.
Dang.
Yep. Yeah, don't aspire to be me, okay, guys. But seriously, I mean, I am a workaholic, and I'm like, I will get it done. I don't care. I'm exhausted. It's 2:00 in the morning. I got to get it done.
Yeah.
That's just how I am. And I would say that, like Chris Marco Trigiano, she's the same way. She stays up late. She's up early. She's working her butt off. And it's that kind of mentality, I think, that, in a way, Joe and Rose helped to cultivate.
Yeah.
But I think was always sort of in there too. So those two things combine, and we're just like, we're crazy. We're maniacs, but we're workaholics. And so that's, I think, my biggest strength.
I'm going to prescribe you a vacation, Allison.
All right, sounds good.
However, I do think that that's a good trait to have. I've heard literally Joe, I think, said in the first episode of this, he called it like the endless pursuit of just continuing to stay ahead of the curve and trying to better yourself or the business or whatever it might be.
Yeah, you never want to stop learning, growing, doing, because then, everything will pass you by. It's that constant changing environment that real estate is naturally, and technology and everything else that goes along with it. And if you can't keep up, or all you're doing is trying to keep up, you're never going to be super successful. You have to always be willing to take those fast changes and pivot, as everybody likes to say. Pivot.
That's why Bob calls me Paul the Wine Guy as well, as that show, So all great stuff, Allison. Everybody, however, has, the dark side of the moon, as they say, right? Obstacles. I try not to use the word weaknesses, but that's how some people think of it. So what would you say might have been your biggest obstacle over the past 10 years that you've had to overcome?
I mean, I could think of so many, right? Because that's me, my own worst critic.
Yeah.
Okay, that's totally me. No, I mean, I can think of a couple. One is just so much going on in my brain at any given time, or, so many different projects going on that, like, sometimes I just get overloaded and I'm like you just need a second. Like you have a little bit of a mini meltdown. You got to restart and refresh.
I get it.
So that was always a struggle. Part of that is just staying organized and on top of things. So that piece. Also, of course, like, it's part and parcel to what I just said, like being a workaholic and working like a maniac. You also kind of fail at life in other regards. So, you don't have as many, like my circle of friends is diminished rapidly over the years.
Right.
Especially as I took on more and more. And people were like, what the heck's going on with you? Aren't we friends anymore? Not that I think that just happens naturally as you get older too.
I think so, yeah.
A lot of that was trying to find that balance, because I do want to work and my drive is crazy and I want to be out there doing everything I can to help as many people as I can. But I also to stop and say, I need to spend time with like my mom and my sister, and finding that balance is really difficult, that work-life balance. So those are some of the things that I've always struggled with.
I noticed you didn't say spending time with your brother, but that's probably because he's literally next door.
I see him every day. We don't need to spend more time together. But I do have 2 other brothers that I don't see very
I didn't
often.
know that.
So them too.
Shout out to all the Brescianis out there. Not just the ones that I know. So Allison, I wanted to make sure I asked you this question as well. If you hadn't chosen real estate, what might you see yourself doing?
I would 100% want to be hosting a podcast.
Get out of here.
Swear to God.
Are you actually serious?
I've always wanted to. I'm a huge listener of various types of podcasts.
Same here, yeah.
And I think this is so cool.
It's fun.
And that's why next session I think is going to be me interviewing you.
Okay, deal.
So that I can live my dream. I've always wanted to do this. I thought this would be so cool.
Oh, I would love to be interviewed. That would be fun.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were going to throw me that curveball. Yep. That's funny.
That's the thing.
I heard that from some other people. They don't work here anymore, but other people have been like, man, I want to start a podcast and this and that. Obviously, Joe's into it as well. Yeah. So
Rose and I joked around all the time about starting a podcast. I mean, some stupid shit.
I would listen to that 100%.
Really dumb topics or like, what the hell is the topic of the day today? And that's literally the name of the podcast. I don't know. Like we have laughed hysterically into the wee hours of the night talking about the things that we would do on a podcast.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
It's so funny because Rose, if you're listening, I don't know if you are or not, but her and I talked about it a while ago. I don't know what happened, but about maybe getting her on here. And then I've thought about it too. And I still would love to have her because I feel like Rose and I could do like a 3-hour podcast probably. You know what I mean? I miss her. Shout out to Rose.
Yeah.
That's cool though, Allison. So yeah, maybe we'll have you back and we'll
for sure. Or Rose and I might come in the middle of the night and record our own.
Well, everything's here for you guys, so go for it.
Yeah. No, that's definitely been something I've always wanted to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I think real estate also comes with that, like the gift of gab, as they say.
True.
Do you think?
Right. So I heard Alexis on your last episode. She was like, the gift of gab. She just doesn't know what she's going to gab about, something like that. I was like, it's so true. She can talk about anything.
Same, yeah.
She's got a lot of skill in that regard.
It's a good one to have, I think.
Yeah.
Can't BS a BSer, you know what I mean? So the very last thing I have for you, Allison, the way that we end all of our episodes, and we're we're over 45 minutes right now.
Wow.
I know we have some cuts there in the middle for
you're gonna cut a lot of that
some
garbage.
weirdness.
Let's take all of it out. Let's just cut all of it and have it go, hey, I'm Allison.
Hey,
nice to meet you.
Come in person if you want to hear more.
Yeah, come visit me if you want to know anything about me.
So I'm wondering, Allison, this might be hard because I'm sure you have a couple different things you might want to say, but if you could give some advice to new agents out there, what would you say to them? I know, right?
It's so funny. I thought about this beforehand, but now that you put me on the spot, I'm like drawing a blank. I would just say, listen, this is hard work. I think a lot of people, and maybe this is like part of my black and white personality. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Right.
And you're going to get out of it what you put into it. So if you think you're just going to come on and work 5 hours a week and make a shitload of money, it's not happening.
Unless you have a network of millionaires who just love you.
Yeah, exactly. But if you're willing to put in the hard work, and I'll tell you, at 54 Realty on the leads division, You don't have to do half of what an independent agent would do out there at another brokerage.
That's true.
So the opportunities that you have here, the stuff that you're given, the systems that are put in place for you, the support system here, it's unbelievable. And if it's ever going to be at least somewhat easy, you got to come here to 54 Realty to do it. But all of that shameless plug and
It happens all the time.
all
Listen,
that
that's what we're here for, you know?
all that said, it's not easy, but if you work hard at it, possibilities are endless.
I'm going to quote the great Mike Peoples real quick. And, he gets enough credit on here, but I'm going to give him credit again. He said, treat it like a job, get paid like a job.
That's
so
right.
I think that's in line with what you're saying.
And we were at a conference where they were like, scared money don't make no money.
That's true. That was it the Tom Ferry thing?
Yeah.
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 Shout out Tom Ferry.
Shout out.
Yeah. So Allison, that's great advice. I really appreciate you saying that. And I think a lot of people would agree. You did the shameless plug there for 54 Realty. You sure did. I'm wondering if you have anything you yourself would like to promote. Do you want people still to be calling you to buy a house?
No, man, don't call me.
She's too busy.
I mean, well, like you can call me, but I will transfer you to an agent who's going to actually be able to assist you.
Yeah. Someone with the time, right?
Someone with the time.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I guess the best promo there is just come to 54
Join the
Realty,
brokerage.
Join the brokerage.
Just come on over. I'll train you up. You can be newly licensed. I'll walk you through it.
Bada bing, bada boom.
We got you.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, Allison Bresciani. Boom. Thanks, Allison. I like your nails, by the way.
Thanks. I broke one. Can we get that on camera? Can we zoom in?
It's a tragedy. Hopefully not in here.
Yeah, no, I broke it on my car door.
Oh, I was like, it'd be messed up if you broke your nail on a podcast. Anyway.
So we're going to do this all over again?
Absolutely.
Now
we're literally like a door down.
Now that I practiced, can we just do it again? This time I'll write a script. I don't like anything I said, guys.
Please. If it was bad, we wouldn't be sitting at the time right now. But Allison, I really appreciate it. I really do.
Thanks for having me, Paul.
No problem.
I mean, I rarely ever see you these days, so it's nice.
Tell me about it, right? Yeah. We're like literally right across the hall from each other. So, well, Allison, I will say I'll see you when I see you, but I'll see you in about 30 seconds when we walk out of the door. So, everyone out there, thanks for watching, listening. If you decided to tune out in the first couple of minutes because of our ugly mugs, we still appreciate you. If you're on Spotify, drop a like. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, comment, etc. Blah blah blah. The same old rigmarole. Hey, if you want to be on the podcast, you can go on the website www.therealestateplaybook.com. You can fill out a little form. It's gonna send me a message, and I'll get you on here. And maybe we can wear mustaches. I don't know if you caught that up top, but go ahead and rewind if you didn't catch the mustache bit in there. So. That's it for me, guys. By the time you're listening to this, I'll be on an island, so don't call me. Have a great day.
Are you really going to be on an island? Where?
I'm on vacation.